11:44. I don't have a lot of time this morning, so I'm just going to go ahead. I'm sure they're going to throw it up on the screen. I'll go ahead and read it. For I am not ashamed of the gospel of Christ. Come on, someone turn to your neighbor and say, I am not ashamed. For it is the power of God unto salvation to everyone that believeth, to the Jew first, and also to the Greek. Listen, guys, the gospel is the power of God. The gospel is the power of God. That means the gospel is the answer for us today. The gospel is the answer. We have all sorts of problems. I don't know if you guys watch the news lately. It's not the most joyful thing to turn on these days, right? It seems like there's terrorist attacks here and hunger here and problems going on and this way and that way. And I know we have good programs and we have, these things that try to reach out, and it's almost like a Band-Aid sometimes, but it doesn't really meet the need of the people. Right? Because there's only one thing that's going to truly meet the need of the people, and that is the gospel. Because the gospel, it is the power of God. It is still the answer today. Whatever you may be going through, whatever you may think to yourself, well, I know you're saying that, Aaron, but a raise would sure be nice. It would sure solve a lot of my problems, right? And if my children would start behaving themselves, that would probably solve a lot of my problems. But listen, I tell you that there's only one answer that's going to cover it all. If you want a real answer, come on, if you want the power of God, you got to, just allow the gospel back into your life. You got to visit the cross again. Come on, you have to be buried again. Come on, you have to have resurrection power living inside of you. Come on, today we need the gospel. We need the gospel. It is the power of God. In 1 Corinthians chapter 9, Paul says, for though I preach the gospel, I have nothing to glory of, for necessity is laid upon me. Yea, woe unto me if I preach not the gospel, for I do this thing willingly. I have a reward, but if against my will, a dispensation of the gospel is committed unto me. He says, where is my reward then? Verily that when I preach the gospel, I make the gospel of Christ without charge. He goes on and he says, listen, to the Jew I became a Jew, and to the weak I became weak, and to the strong and to the intelligent I was made intelligent. And he's just like, I've learned to be all things to all men, right? That the gospel might be delivered and that some might be saved. And listen, I want to tell you today that he might have wrapped it up a little bit different to different people. Right? And different people in your life, they probably have to receive it a little bit different. You might have to present it to a child a little bit different than you would present it to maybe a neighbor or an elder. But I want to tell you that the gospel doesn't change. The message, the content is still the same. And the content is still doing what it's meant to do. It is still the power. Right? And if you want to see change in your family, and if you want to see change in your neighbor, right? If you want to really help someone, you can gift wrap it however you want, right? But as long as the content is still the gospel, it's still going to work. It's still going to be the answer. Listen, we have good music in our church. We have good programs, right? We have good fellowship, right? But if we stop preaching the gospel of Christ, right? If we stop preaching the gospel of Christ, we're not going to see the power anymore. We're not going to see the demonstration of the power of God in our service anymore. We need the gospel. Listen, your communities, they need the gospel. Your neighbors, they need the gospel. It is the power of God. People will come up to us and they'll ask us, listen, my marriage, it's falling apart, and we'll say, oh, well, there's this really good book I read. Was it Dobson? We'll give them Dobson, or maybe I've been dealing with depression, or cigarettes. I can't break the habit, or drink. I can't break the habit, and we'll give them a book on self-help, or we'll give them maybe a Band-Aid. Well, this will help you, and if you just follow these programs, and listen, we need those programs. They're good. Don't get me wrong, but I want to let you know that there's only one thing that's going to truly answer the problem, and that is the gospel. That is the gospel. It is the power. It is the answer. It is the answer. Lastly, 1 Corinthians chapter 2, verses 1 through 5, it says, and I, brethren, when I came to you, came not with an excellency of speech or of wisdom, declaring unto you the testimony of God. For I determined not to know anything among you, save Jesus Christ and him crucified. And him crucified. Paul says, listen, I got all the intelligence in the world. I've studied, right? I went to school. I could come and blow your mind with philosophies. I could come blow your mind, but listen, I've told myself I'm not going to know anything because all that stuff is great and all that stuff, that's good tools, but I know where the power's at. Come on, I know where my help comes from. I know where the power, I know what's going to change people. And that, let me tell you about a man named Jesus Christ. Come on, he's still the answer, church. He's still the answer. When Philip came in contact with the man, if we could all stand. When Philip came in contact with this eunuch, he was looking for answers. He was reading a set of scriptures in the Old Testament. He's just, I don't get it. I don't understand what it's talking about. And he didn't tell him, well, let me tell you about this philosophy, or let me tell you about this really cool church I go to, or let me tell you about, we have these really cool fellowship meetings. You can just come out and it will help you and you'll get direct. No, he said right there from where he was reading, he said, let me tell you about a man. Let me tell you what God did for me. Let me tell you about a man that went to Calvary. Come on, who died for me. Come on, and not only did he die, but he's coming back one day. That he's putting his spirit in you. Come on, and that's where the power is. Clap your hands to the Lord. Come on, and let's praise him this morning. Come on, let's praise him for the power. Come on, let's praise him for what he's done for us.
Thank you. You may be seated.